Okay, hi all. I am Muthu, basically from Tamil Nadu. तो मैं इधर एक I want to share my story or something that happened in my life. So जब जैसे अब जीत है, similarly I was a third year engineering student. जब मेरे dad के पास जाके बोला था, You are putting me through such a difficult situation, Dad. आपने जितना pocket money मुझे दिया था, this is not something an engineering student can survive. और उसने बताया काफी coolly, he didn't give ज्ञान, शाके ज्ञान उनको पता है कि इस कान से जाके बाहर निकल जाता है and it doesn't go through the brain somehow in between the 2 years. So instead what he did is he took me to an old lady and asked her to share her life story. So because it was a story and I was quite interested to listen to that story, I entered her house. The old lady was taking out the papad from her hand, and as she completed it, she started sharing her story. I would rather enact or share the story with you in the first person as she narrated the story to me. It was 1970 and I was a 40-year-old woman. I had in my hand the 2-month-old baby, the fourth child that I had, and somehow I know this is going to be my last child. I was still singing the lullaby to this fourth child while I was preparing food for my husband. Jo jana jimpave ni jonj koda umpave. This was a song that I wrote in my own language, and as I was singing and preparing, and I was telling bye to my husband, and I came back. Jo jana jajiye ni jo jana jimpave. The baby was quite asleep and I was the happiest at that as a 40-year-old woman. I was so grateful to the life that I've had. Born into a mediocre family, but I was the most educated among my cousins. I had studied up to 7th standard, while all my cousins were just up to 5th standard. I had 4 beautiful and healthy children, and I also lived with a husband who is so caring and is so full of life. Even before he went today, he kissed the child with such love, with such caringness before he left today. And so I was, after this song, slept myself. Nobody in this 40 years told me that life will have its own twists and turns, and when those turns came, nobody told me how to react. That particular evening, my husband, who was full of life, came back to home, but for the very last time. The tobacco that he used to keep himself awake as he was working as a manager in the theatre had eventually gotten to him, and it had taken his life. Now the same things that I was really proud of, I was looking at the 2 or 3 things that I mentioned. With a 7th standard education, but it is not paying me enough. I am living at a home which is not mine, and I do not have any savings for supporting these 4 children. What do I do? There was no light or a door to look at to support these 4 children, and I had just one path left, and that path was leading to the sea nearby at Nagapattinam to drown these 4 children. But somehow, looking at the smile of this 2-month-old daughter, I couldn't take that step and decided that I am going to stand for them. I am going to make my children succeed, come what may. And so I decided, for the next 15 years, I did not have any particular skill, but the only skill that I had was making papad. Every single day for the next 15 years, I used to get up at 4, make papad till 6 to 8, I used to take care of my children, and from then on, from 8 o'clock, I used to sell those papad going on the streets. After the 15th year of this repetition, somehow there was a light at the end of the tunnel where my first daughter got a government job, and things were a little pally after that. But during this time, there were many who helped the way. There were many who said it is possible, but there were a few who I assume would have said living this or making this out wouldn't have been possible. Somehow they never fell on my ears. Any struggle that I faced post that, like the breast cancer I had at the age of 70, was not that big a problem compared to the decision that I had to make at the year of 40. Survived all this through, and now luckily all my children are doing well, and it gives me a hope that once you fight, once you know what you're fighting for, then you can always be there for the people you love. Now she completed the story and with a sentence saying that I do not know why your father has taken me to share this story. Probably this is not an extraordinary story as I see myself. And then I was sitting there listening to her story. It was a story of valor. It was a story of commitment. It was a story of fighting the odds and standing there to win. This lady, what she has done. Now this story was specifically extraordinary to me, not just because this is a story of my grandmother, but because she did what she did in spite of being deaf just before her marriage. She lost her hearing at the age of 20, and in spite of that she has gone through this phase and excelled at what she is excelled at. Now there are a few things that I took back from the story and which is applicable for all of us. So one of the lessons is, if you have a really strong purpose in your life, it will help you take you through your ups and downs. In this case, the stronger purpose was the love that she had for her kids. The second takeaway for me was that the heroes are not one with the best physique or the strongest biceps, but the one, even in their tears, they are able to stand up and see through the difficult times. So with that, I conclude this story, and I hope this story reaches and touches some people's heart and able to help them through their tough times. Thank you.